Hi, everybody, and welcome to Fitness Coaching with Lois. We're talking about the daily struggle. I know so many people are having trouble right now and are feeling like they're last on their to-do list. You're not alone. It's okay, and we're here to help. So today I have three-time author Diane Lang, who's a positivity psychologist, and she's a therapist, an educator, a positive living expert. So Diane, welcome to our show again. It's so nice to have you on a couple of months ago. I'm so honored to have you back today. How are you doing?
Hi, Lois. Thank you so much for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be here and doing good. I wish the sun would come out, but otherwise, yes, doing good.
Yeah, we had some really nice days there for a while, and then all of a sudden it's gotten a little gloomy. But I will say I'm really grateful not to have to go out and water my plants every day.
That's true.
I feel like all I've been doing is planting, and I feel like that's all I want to do when I'm outside is like plant green things and pretty flowers and vegetables, and so not having to go out and water, I'm very happy with that.
There's the silver lining.
Always. I try. You know what? Looking through things as they are is good, but also looking to what you want them to be is helpful too. So, we've been struggling with COVID-19. I know that a lot of my friends and family members and colleagues and working partners are really struggling with feeling like they need to be super people. And I want to know from your perspective why we are so hard on ourselves. What's your thought on
That is such a learned behavior. And I think part of it is the way you were raised, the way your family was. And the other part is living in the New York City tri-state area, whether you're in New Jersey like we are, Connecticut, PA, we're raised with this type A personality where, we're always on the go. We're always have to be doing something and moving. If we don't, do something, if we're sitting still, we're taking a nap, we're meditating, we feel we're not being productive. We have traits such as multitasking, perfectionism, control issues. And, one of the things to think about is multitasking doesn't work. I mean, we don't even have the ability brain-wise to multitask. And now that we're home, we're working from home, our kids are home going to school, we're really multitasking more than ever before. And that's why people keep saying, I've been, with a lot of clients saying, oh my God, I feel like I'm working double. And it is because, not only are you taking care of your house, which needs more care because we're home all the time, and we're always making it a mess because we're working in the kitchen like I am today. Our kids are in the living room working there. Our spouses are in a different room. But we're trying to balance making sure our kids go to school and do the right thing and helping them with whatever they need, trying to work so our work is spread out in different hours, and then taking care of the house all at the same time and planting like you are. I'm not doing that. No green thumb here. It really makes for a really stressful day. And then you add on all the stress and the fear of uncertainty, like when will this end? How long will it go? Will we wear masks for how long? Will there be a second wave? Then add in everything that's going on, in the news and the current situation. And even when that goes, people are really stressed about finances and the recession and what it's going to look like when we're done. And then you have the election. So we have a lot of stress coming our way.
that?
Yes, it's layers and layers. And then on top of it, like you said, if you know anybody who's been sick, or if you've been sick yourself, or you have parents or grandparents in assisted living, nursing homes, you couldn't see them. There's so many different levels. So our balance is completely off. And to be honest, a lot of people will say they didn't have such good balance before COVID-19, and now it's being really put to the test. So, I mean, just for anybody who's sitting here going, oh my God, I don't have any balance, or I'm feeling like I'm struggling, I'm stressed, I just want everybody to know it's completely normal to feel that way. We're all going through that. This is a change, and change causes us to feel unbalanced. It causes more fear. It can cause anxiety. And I just want everybody to know that's normal. It's natural. And to not judge yourself or be so harsh on yourself, like you were saying, because that's a habit. We tend to beat ourselves up. And you want to think about what's that loop that's always playing in your head, that rumination. And just a little side note, if the rumination is very If it's always going into excessive worrying, excessive fear, excessive thoughts of gloom and doom or panic, then you might want to think that all your stress has turned into anxiety. Or on the other side, if you're having rumination, because depression goes the other way of sadness, hopelessness, helplessness. If you're having that side, again, you want to then maybe reach out, because we're seeing higher levels of anxiety and depression. And again, it's totally normal or valid to have those feelings of what you're going on, and then add in the grief we're all feeling. Because even if you didn't lose someone, and hopefully I hope no one did, and if you did, I'm so sorry for your loss. But even if you didn't, and you don't even know anybody who got sick, you're grieving your past life, the pre-COVID life, the freedoms, the privacy, the going for lunch, stopping at the supermarket without a mask, being able to go outside of your house, even the commute, because that might have been privacy where you got to listen to your own music and not have the kids. People now are taking breaks by running into the bathroom, because they're trying to hide from their kids,
You don't have those like in between times anymore. But like I used to have like those staff meetings,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to commute to the next one. You could catch up on a couple phone calls. You get there a few minutes early. You check a couple emails. Now it's like appointments, and you barely get up to pee, let alone get up to something or exercise for a lot of people.
Yeah. A tip for that, because everybody's feeling that way, is what I've had my clients do is a few things. One, set an alarm on your phone, or if you want an old school clock, whatever works for you, to make sure that you set breaks in the morning and in the afternoon. I always go, think about like when I first started working in the healthcare field as a therapist in the late 90s, early 2000s, the work day you would work before lunch and you got a 15-minute break. And then after lunch, before you left, there was another 15-minute break. I don't know if anybody remembers this, or I'm just showing my age, but do that for yourself. Even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes, set an alarm to have a break. Even if it's just go to the bathroom, walk around, take a deep breath, stretch, because sitting in front of the Zoom or, Streamline or whatever you're doing could be really for your neck, your back, your eyes. And then also set an alarm to make sure you have a lunch break. Really important, even if it's only a half hour, we need to have that, and change your scenery again. So, even with your kids, lunch break might be outside when the weather allows. If you're working in the living room, you take your breaks, switch downstairs. Maybe you go down to the TV room, you take a walk, but switch your scenery as well. We need that shift, because we had that. We went from our car to our offices to lunch, then commute back to our homes, and we're missing all of that. So make sure you set your alarm, set breaks, set for lunch, and also make sure that you switch your rooms and scenery. Really important to do that, so you have some kind of balance in your life. Really important.
Right. So, I mean, why do we think that we are working more now, or maybe it just feels like that? Because I mean, I'm really just stacking the day, like, and it's really not even useful. Do try to put those breaks in for myself, but
Right.
working more now, because I don't feel like I have had much break myself. I know a lot of people at the same time.
People think that if we work harder, especially in a time where we feel a lack of control and all the uncertainty, we feel like we need to work harder. And the truth is, we need to work smarter. There is a complete difference between the two. And what people think is, if I multitask, if I don't take breaks, if I work longer hours until I'm exhausted and burnt out, then I'm productive. It's actually the opposite. So one of the suggestions we, as therapists, or even, anybody will tell you in this field, is you don't need to work longer, you need to work smarter. So my suggestion is know your attention span, and everybody's a little different. Some people can work a good 30 minutes before they need a break. Some people can get an hour in before a break. Either way, make sure at least once an hour you take a break for 5 minutes, like literally just 5 minutes. Get up, stretch, really stretch your shoulders. Know where you hold tension in your body. If it's your shoulders, roll them. If it's your neck, stretch it out, your arms, whatever it is. And that Lois will be better on stretching than I will, so I'm going to leave that to her. But make sure that you do that. Breaks actually reboot and refuel. If not, we get frustrated, overwhelmed, and that's when we procrastinate. So take those breaks, again, even if they're 2 to 5 minutes, And the other thing is, again, reduce the multitasking. It does not work. It'll make you way more frustrated than before. One thing at a time, and you'll notice you'll do better. And the other thing is, make sure you incorporate some mindfulness into your day. When we do what?
What does that look like? Give us an example.
Sure. So meditation is the intentional practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is when you're completely awake and aware to your environment and everything around you using your senses. But it's also when you're awake and aware to what's going on in your mind, the down low, what's playing. And when you're completely awake and aware, you're in the conscious moment. You're in the here and now. And this is the thing, when we get off of autopilot and when we're in the present moment, in the now, we're our happiest, we're our most productive, and we're our most creative. So those little mindfulness breaks literally will shift how you do at work, and also your mental status with your family, less snappy, less irritable, less stressed. And a really simple one, exercise and stretching, Lois will talk about, which is so important. But a quick mindfulness break that takes 2 to 3 minutes is if you sit down wherever you are, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, just very simple breaths. And for meditative breath, it's just inhale through your nose, hold, exhale through your mouth. Take a few of those, shut your eyes, and then either count back from 50 or 30, depending how much time you have, really slowly, just like 50, 49, really slowly. And what you notice, most of my clients who start at 50 say by the time they reach between 20 to 25, they zone out. They don't even remember. And you'll zone out just for about 2 or 3 minutes until something gives you, wakes you up, whether it's a noise, you have an itch, a thought comes in your head. But that 2 to 3 minute mindfulness break will literally shift you. If you have time to go outside, another way is just go onto your deck, sit in your backyard, whatever you have available. Sit down, take a few meditative breaths again, as we said, then use one of your senses, whichever one you want, and just focus in nature. So maybe it's looking up at the sky and noticing the clouds, the shapes, how they float. Maybe it's smelling if you're near the beach, if you're smelling somebody's barbecue or the flowers. Maybe it's the noises you hear, the birds, the bees, your dog's barking. If it's feeling, maybe you have your flip-flops because it's warm out, you took it off, you feel the grass under your feet. And just do that for a few minutes. That will bring you right back into the here and now. It'll refuel you. And you'll be able to go back to work in your conscious mind where you solve problems better, where you get those aha, enlightenment moments, more productive, creative. So again, people say, oh, I don't have that 5 minutes to waste. It's not a waste. It's actually going to refuel you to do better. And I know Lois has already talked about this, but making sure exercise, which is another form of mindfulness, even just a walk, is so important. But I'm going to, again, leave that to the expert. She'll talk about that. And I know she has because I watched and seen the videos and stuff. But make sure you take those mindfulness. Those breaks will really make a huge difference and make you feel more relaxed. And when we're less stressed and relaxed, we're more balanced.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So from your perspective, and you gave some really great tips before, but I want you to maybe define, I don't think a lot of people understand anxiety. Could you quickly define that for us?
Sure. So there's a difference between stress and anxiety. And stress is when we have a trigger or a stressor in front of us, meaning maybe at work, I have a boss who's a micromanager. And every time I'm around him, he's judgmental, he's critical, he's harsh. And every time I go to work and I know I have to see my boss, I'm stressed out because he makes me feel that stress. But then let's say I went to work today, Friday, and they said to me, you know what? He just retired. His last week is this week. And then I come back into work Monday, my stressor is gone, my stress is gone. Now, we're always going to have stressor or triggers, but they're related to something that we can see, we can feel, a stressor or a trigger.
So you're relating stress to emotions.
Stress to what?
You're relating stress and emotion, right?
Right. There is something there that's causing you a stressor or a trigger, making you feel it. Absolutely. But when you have anxiety, the stressor or the trigger could be gone and you still feel the anxiety. And what happens is, especially during COVID, is people have had such high levels of stress. I mean, we're almost going on 3 months of quarantine, isolation. Some people lost a job for 3 months. That stress can turn into anxiety. that even when the stressor or trigger is gone, they still feel it. And you'll know it's anxiety because that's when you have the rumination that goes on and you have excessive, intense fear, worrying, feelings of gloom and doom. You can't stop the rumination in your head. And also, another sign of anxiety is the panic attacks. A lot of people are starting to have a lot of panic attacks. So that's when it's hitting anxiety, and that's when it becomes an issue. Stress, it's normal, it's natural. We're going to never live a stress-free life. We'll always have it. But when it turns into anxiety, that's when it becomes a problem for a lot of people where they can't function. It's always on their mind. It's affecting their sleeping, their eating, their mental status, their moods. That's when it becomes an issue. And if that's the case, again, everybody's doing telehealth, whether you have a coach, whether you have a therapist, a psychologist, psychiatrist. Some are starting to open because they have opened, non-essential. But even if not, there is telehealth. Please check in with somebody and make sure you have a support system. A lot of times their stress is turning into anxiety because they're internalizing it. They're pushing it down. They don't want to feel it. They don't think they have time for it. They're in denial. They don't want to show it to their kids. And then they hold on to it, and then it becomes an issue. And notice if you're not coping well, if you're self-medicating, which most people think of drugs or alcohol, but self-medicating could be food, could be caffeine or sugar, absolutely. It could be sleeping your day away to have avoidance. It could be binging too much on TV, video games, so you're avoiding the world. It doesn't just have to be drug or alcohol, but really watch if you're not coping well and you're doing unhealthy ways of coping, that's a sign that you need to reach out and get some support, which is, again, completely normal in a time like this.
Right, absolutely. No, I agree with you. I think that addressing the emotions as they're coming is more important than stuffing them, whether it's food or alcohol or over exercising. I know a lot of people are going into over exercise mode now, which is also not healthy. So finding that in between balance again. I think knowing that it's okay not to be perfect, I think it's really important to realize that it's okay not to be the best parent one day and not to be the best employer or the best employee. So, or the best, you can have good days and not so good days at each stage, and to give yourself permission to not be perfect. I feel like that's really a thing that I've learned for myself as a real perfectionist who's now just working on progressing.
Yeah, that's so true. I've been telling my parents, stop trying to be the parent you were pre-COVID-19 and forgive yourself if you let your kids stay up a little later or they're doing their homework in pajamas. Right, we all have. It's okay. And you brought up a perfect point. You don't need to be perfect. And it's an unrealistic expectation even, post-COVID-19. So if we're going to change anything, change that. We don't want to hold on to being able to think everything could be perfect or control everything, because that will keep us stuck and unhappy, frustrated, and angry, because they're both not sustainable, unrealistic, and they set you up for failure. So really perfect point to bring up.
Yeah, roll with it. Just try not to let it wash you down. Cool. This is really helpful. I hope these tips were great for you as and Diane, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you need any assistance for those kinds of things, definitely reach out to Diane. And of course, if you need any information about fitness goals or help with yourself feeling better, exercise perspective, definitely reach out to me. Again, I'm Lois from Fitness Coach. Please tune in again. Let us know that you're here and you liked us today. And of course, subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye, Lois. Bye, everybody.